Buhari's biggest problem, obstacle, was that well, because he hasn't left power, his biggest problem was that he failed woefully to instill the sense of citizenship in the average Nigerian. You know, rather than foster a kind of collective citizenry, he succeeded in creating huge cracks. So, and when you have that kind of, so the trust in federal government is weakened. So you see, I don't believe that the insecurity, the security challenges that we are facing across the country is insurmountable. But you see, before you can quell insecurity, you need the buy-in of the ordinary man on the street. As long as that confidence is not there for the ordinary man on the street about his country, about his government being able to do something about his, security and welfare, he will not be cooperative. So that is why you will have, on the one hand, you have discordant tunes about whether it's IPOB or UGM that is causing whatever is happening in the southeast. You have the case of, herdsmen, militia, attacking in the southwest. You have the case of banditry and the rest of them, in the whole of the north. Then, of course, you have the problem in the northeast, the original Boko Haram problem, insurgency in the northeast. The problem has always been that the government has been so disconnected from the ordinary man that he cannot volunteer information. He can't even tell you because he's not sure that he's safe. And you see, government's responses to criticism of its manner of engagement in this security-related matter has not been encouraging. You can have a situation where you have state governments in standoff against the federal government on issues that concerns their domain. You have very good example of Rotimi Akeredolu of Ondo State taking on federal government on the case of the Fulani headsmen, territorial movement of headsmen, into his domain. You have the case of Benue State Samuel Otom. You have pockets of resistance here and there. You see, the moment you have that kind of a thing, it does not instill confidence in the citizenry. What you have is every man for himself, and God for us all. Only in that, in this case, more or less like God is leaving us to slug it out on our own. It's one of the most unusual kind of electioneering cycle we've ever had, both in terms of the actual polling exercise across the country, and of course the responses. Normally, where you have by now you would have known the outright, when the president-elect, has been announced, and the governorship would have been announced. By now, what we'll be talking about is transition and the rest of it. But what is making the news more is more of disputes arising from the election, itself, and you hear a lot of, attacks here and there, a lot of ethnic dog whistle, litigations here and there, and of course threats of violence. And in fact, if you've been on social media, you'll see a lot of instances of matters being taken even as far as the Hague, the International Criminal Court. So it's I don't know how to put it. It's quite unusual. It's something that we have never seen, in a while. So I don't know how it's going to pan out, but we will still keep on watching and reporting. For me, I think it is rather disgraceful that there could be this kind of controversy after the huge resources and time of preparation. And let's not forget that Professor Yakubu, was on record at Chatham House, an international institution for that matter, to make promises that the election is going to be, very transparent, and there will be clear upload of results in real time, which he failed to uphold during the election proper. So I think that in a normal climb, really, there should be an open probe as to how he spent that money. There should be a lot of inquisitions. There should be a lot of investigation on this person. In fact, by now, he shouldn't even be in office. He should have resigned honorably, so that there can be a thorough proof of what actually happened. And all this talk about you know, the machines, the bypass malfunctioning, as far as I'm concerned, is neither here nor there. It's untenable as far as I'm concerned. And I think, as a way of, as a first step of trying to bring about confidence in the electoral system in the country, I think something has to be done and questions have to be answered thoroughly. Well, I think that the entire policy in itself, in as much as it's salutary, that is, we are talking of migrating into e-money kind of transaction where we rely more on electronic transfer of monetary packages, than over reliance on the physical cash. I think that is, as a concept, it's wonderful. But you see, like we have always said, for some of us into development reporting, economic intelligence, the problem with Nigeria has never been about ideas. It's the implementation of such ideas and policies that has always been the problem. Now, know full well that policy implementation in Nigeria is always a problem. People will always try to exploit loopholes in new policies to make money, to milk the ordinary man on the street. I think that a forward-looking institution like the CBN should have taken care of all the bottlenecks that could have arisen. The possibility of people hijacking the process and make the economic situation worse than it already was. So for me, it still goes to show. I think it's a huge indictment, one of the biggest indictments on this administration, that it is not a people-friendly government. It's not a people-friendly government. Because when you look at the kind of economic dislocation that happened within the period, people who lost fortunes, people who lost value of their money. In fact, there was an estimate that during that period, there was an estimate by some economists that for every 1,000 naira, you lose about 300 naira of the value in making exchanges, in procuring physical cash to do transactions. Even when you have to even do electronic transfer, you are asked to make some deposits, as commission, so that it makes it easier for them to acquire cash. So that is the kind of thing that happens when you have, administrators who are not forward-looking, who are not in tune with what really happens in the market square. My take is that you should expect things like that, because it's still the season of politics. You see, it will still go back to the shenanigans of INEC, the electoral umpire. You see, if the electoral process had been at least 10% transparent, as it should have been, there wouldn't have been any need for this kind of, because the winner, it would have been so unanimous that this man actually emerged. But the moment you create doubt in the umpire, that is in, the conduct of the election, of course you are going to have a lot of agitators who will come up. And of course, let us not rule out the fact that having looked at the petitions from both the PDP and the LP, you tend to see a sense of purpose in those petitions. And given the groundswell of publicity that has attended the petition across the globe, even the justices are under pressure. So anything could actually happen in the Supreme Court for the first time. So definitely, you should have instances where pressure, will be brought to bear on people who are the petitioners to withdraw the case to make for amicable resolution outside the court. I don't see anything wrong with it. But what I found at is an attempt to intimidate people for taking that recourse. All this blackmail about some people being this and that, for me, I think it's a no-no. You understand? The two parties have taken the constitutional course of action, that is going to court to ask for redress. I believe that such move should be respected by all and sundry, while negotiation, rapprochement continues in the background. But it shouldn't be a kind of ruthless kind of thing where you now say barassel, you threaten people, you equate the demand for justice through the court, and you equate it with an act of insurrection. That is it's unacceptable. It's unacceptable. That is dictatorial. I'm a journalist. I look at facts, and I look at precedents. We've never had a situation where presidential elections are overturned. We've never had it. So, as it stands, more or less, he will be sworn in. But the thing is this: one of the major concerns that we have, that a lot of people have, me included, about the president-elect is that is he in full control of those faculties we knew he used to have? Those faculties with which he presided over Lagos as a governor for 8 years, same faculties and strength he had in forming the ACN, that formidable opposition party, giving direction to that party, fusing that party into APC, and creating the behemoth of political movement that he has in the Southwest. Does he still have those things in him? Then secondly, his lieutenants, especially those handling his image, their conduct have been very, very unsatisfactory. We are talking of people who, if all things being equal, are already one step into the presidency, being involved in ethnic dog whistle, and he, as the president-elect, has failed to do anything to call them to order or even sanction some of them. It doesn't inspire confidence. That doesn't inspire confidence at all. Well, I'll keep my fingers crossed. I like to be surprised by him. I think I would prefer him surprising me, so that we all can come out and say we actually never expected he would perform this much. We never expected he could perform this wonderfully. So I will keep my doubts. I will rather express my doubt and wait for him to clear the doubt.